We're gonna call the roll. Mr. Meyer, you are in attendance on a Zoom, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Norton,
I'm here, yes.
Miss Andujar.
Here.
Mr. Bannon.
Here.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Miss Smith. That's it, Carolyn. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are one. I've already started that. So are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes of December 20th?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Fine. Let's take Mr. Meyer. We're voting on the minutes.
I approve.
Approve.
Norton,
Yes.
Andujar,
Yeah.
Bannon, Gibbons, Smith. Thank you. Okay. I want to make sure that everybody understands a couple things. Number one, the next meeting is the 21st of February. You may get an announcement from the town for the 20th of February. That is incorrect, and because of technology, they can't seem to change it. So understand that the meeting is the 21st of February. If you have any issues, concerns, get in touch with Mr. Gibbons, as Ms. Smith will be out of the country, okay?
And it is a Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday.
President's Day is Monday, so we
Right.
can't do that day.
All right, where is Railroad Street Youth Project? Okay, we're moving from that. We may have to table that till February. Memorial Field, where's Joe Aberdale?
Let me see if he's in his office.
Yeah, tell him he needs to be here.
Who we waiting for?
Aberdale,
Oh. He has left the building. He left.
He
I can
left?
text him if you would like.
no,
Maybe he forgot.
he needs to be texted to remind him he should be at this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Memorial Field, I know that what's happening is that's going out for bid, I believe, in the end of January. Tie and bond, now this is gonna go on, the design for Grove and Dewey Park. In my absence, you guys are going to need to do a public input. And I talked to Sir Debbie, and I'm gonna talk to her again tomorrow. She has not gotten in touch with Chris to get some idea of equipment that, and what the prices are. So that's all gotta be put together while I'm gone, because otherwise we don't do anything till the middle of March, and that is gonna put things way behind the 8 ball. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about?
When are you returning?
March 11th.
So you'll be here for the March meeting?
Yeah, but everything,
No, but I'm just,
yeah, I'll be here for the March meeting, absolutely.
so we need a list of, or we need to set up a meeting for public input.
Right. Sir Debbie is going to, I will talk to her tomorrow morning at 9 to make sure she gets in touch with Chris, because she hasn't yet, in order to get some idea, so you can set up some sort of public input for Grove and Dewey Park, okay?
Should we do that at the meeting or? A
I
separate
think
meeting?
that I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna trust that you people are gonna have to figure this out on your own.
Probably be a separate meeting. which is
It's gotta be a separate meeting. Okay? Giggle Park, I know that again, I believe, Steve, we've talked to Joe, that's gonna be dealt with at the end of, that's done,
Giggle Park is done.
right? And Grove Street is all part of the Grove and the Dewey.
Yeah.
That's all gonna be part of that, but the key to the castle is getting a number from Joe. Sir Debbie, I will talk to you tomorrow. I'm gonna ask her to be in touch with Julie and Paul and Steve, just to make sure that it just doesn't die until the middle of March, okay? Is that all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have just one question.
Go ahead.
What do you mean about Giggle Park being done?
Everything that needed to be done has been completed. The new swings are in and all that stuff.
Oh.
The next step with Giggle Park, which is actually not the next step, is when they redo all of the town hall campus. There'll be a total regrade done of the rear of behind town hall so that it accommodates the tents for Biff, Bath, Booth, Mahawi, the hospital and everything else. As well as, I can tell you that, the Railroad Street Youth Project thing, oh, there they are. Tiffany, you're here, you're late. We'll get to her in a minute. So everything, all these things can not be done at Memorial Field, but they can be done back here. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna go back. Would you make,
I have one question.
yeah, get Tiffany Reba up. What?
Ty and Bond design of Grove Street. So we're gonna try to get input from people. Are they, before they do the
Absolutely.
design? Right, so they're not presenting the design
No.
until after we get input.
The way this goes in my mind, and I may be totally wrong, we get a budget from Joe as how much we want to spend and we can be phased or whatever, okay? In Grove and do it. Also, then we take public input. The people at Dewey School may say, screw it, we don't want anything.
Right.
Grove Street is gonna want some items, but I can tell you, after doing the ones that we did at Lake Mansfield, it was $45,000 for 4 items. So you're not gonna be able to do big time, or it may need to be phased. I don't know, but that's something that you guys are gonna have to do.
So we get a wish list from the people and then give that to Ty and Bond and they can say, this is feasible, this isn't.
No, I think a step in between is that we kind of filter what the wish list is.
Exactly.
All right,
And then you're right, then it goes to.
Then the wish list, everybody says, we want this, 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 so you may have 9 pieces.
Mhm.
So you guys are gonna decide, okay, here are the 4, here are the prices, okay, Ty and Bond, why don't you take these 4 items? Okay, and how would you construct that at Grove Street? What needs to be done in order for that to be accomplished?
So-
Because it's not just the price of the item,
correct.
it's all the stuff that has to be, what's it called? I
The
can't.
landscaping and stuff.
No, the landing area, you know, the mulch and all the other stuff, that's all gotta be cut out. All the stuff underneath it and whatever.
But we're gonna have to get some kind of idea with the wish list of what those items are gonna cost.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what,
yeah,
From,
no, you're right.
from
You're right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
but that's why I said Sir Debbie needs to get on that, and I'm gonna let her know tomorrow at 9 AM that she's responsible to meet with Chris so she can put together a package for you guys.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna have to determine when, I would suggest that you're gonna probably set this public information thing up in the last week of February.
And the other thing is that the town in the past has done some of the prep work on the,
Absolutely.
so that will lower the cost. itself.
Right.
And you gotta
Yeah.
talk to Joe Iverdale about how much he can do, okay?
Right.
Any other comments, concerns, or issues about that stuff? Okay. East Rock Trail on Quarry Street to be included as a trail. Tell me what you think, Tom. You just gave us a little update.
The East Rock Trail, you know, the trails are there. They're nothing really official, but there is I noticed that there was a town marker to show where.
Right, Joe
Right.
Iverdale put that up.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a narrow street. The houses are on the south side of it and, you know, as for parking, I don't see how there's ever gonna be a parking lot created. It would probably have to be just parking. on
Where's the
side of the
closest
road.
place to park for East
You could.
Mountain?
You could park there, or you could park, another idea is from the Park Street Park area where I walked with Rob Slonaker about creating mountain bike trails
Uh-huh.
that access, they all connect into all those trails on that side of the mountain.
Do you know what he's talking about?
Vaguely, yes.
I,
Park
had
Street
no
Park has, I don't know, there's several acres, the size of that, and then the East Rock mountain area abuts that. So you could actually walk from Park Street through the woods, through Town Park into that area and come out on Quarry, for instance. And then there's many other interconnecting, you know, just rough trails people have created by walking there.
well, it sounds to me is there's a whole lot of access points. Does anybody have an idea of what it looks like? I mean, is there a layout or a map anywhere?
Not that I've seen.
Tom, are there access from the little playground area? Is
Well,
there an access
by
there?
access, it's like people walking and one of the things Mr. Slonica was talking about was, going in there and clearing brush to do mountain bike, just like sweeping the leaves and creating a walking path. I mean,
Gentlemen, we're having a meeting. If you need to chat, go out in the hallway.
once you're in the woods, it's just a matter of the more people walk areas, they create trails by just walking through it. But there's nothing that's been sculpted or, really laid out. I mean, there's deer.
Well, I mean,
Deer
what I'm saying
stands
is,
from
have they been used enough that they worn down,
Yes,
or you can see
you can
them?
see, yes.
Okay,
And then parts where trees and stuff have fallen down over them and stuff, so it's up to,
If it's, let
people.
me ask you this, if it's used for a mountain bike and it gets cleared out, why couldn't it be a hiking trail?
Exactly.
It could be
Well,
multifaceted.
Well, hiking trails would be more direct when mountain biking.
I understand that.
you know.
Okay.
But it's just a matter of access and walking in the woods is what it
right,
is.
so basically, you could walk from the playground area
Yeah,
all the way around the quarry
well,
over to the fire district property.
yeah, you walk on the quarries further down, but you.
I
can
know,
walk-
you
Well, you can walk around and then connect to, you can walk over, that's what Rob and I did, where then the trail that is on the East Rock Trail on Quarry Street. They converge and then the trail continues on up
Okay,
into the East Rock, the mount, I didn't go up to the East Rock, but people have been doing that for years. To go up there.
I know, it's just a little.
Okay. So that's something that needs to be looked at by grownups that know what the hell they're doing, because
But as Bill said last week, there is rock areas, that's further on in the rest of that mountain behind, like once you get up to the East Rock area and continue east. There's a lot of people that are using it to do rock climbing. And it's all part of fire district land and
whose phone is that?
That's someone in the audience.
I mean,
Hello? It's your phone's setting up a band noise. Thank you. Yeah, okay, so that's something I think that we know about it, but I think it needs to be looked at by people who know what they're doing.
I don't know who that would be.
I have no idea.
there's more people involved. Like I said, I just met this guy today. He's from Stockbridge.
Well, get the guy. Do you have a name?
Yes.
Do you have a number or an
No,
email?
I just met him tonight.
All right, well, why don't you go do what you do and hang up out there and get some names and numbers, okay? So we can start to talk to these people.
Yeah,
all right.
All right.
Why don't we let them know?
Okay, well, Tiffany, we have muted.
Oh, Tiffany, why don't you go over the Railroad Street Youth Project request, okay?
You got it. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Railroad Street Youth Project is hoping to use Memorial Field again this year for our annual culinary arts dinner. We are hoping to keep things exactly the same as they were last year. The event is on Saturday, May 20th. I have a plan with Mahawi Tent to drop off on Friday and pick up on Monday to avoid the fee. I'm happy to touch base with Parks and Rec as we get closer to just be certain that there's no games scheduled for, I think Ananda said it could be Sunday afternoon.
I want to see that.
And then if there is, we'll just have everything picked up on Sunday instead of Monday. The
Well,
event,
I am not gonna make you spend $2,000 for 12 hours. It seems insidiously ridiculous to me. So,
thank
I will tell you, this will be the last year this is gonna happen.
yes. Ananda,
Understand?
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Ananda touched base with Joe. I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name this afternoon, and we're all on the same page. Hopefully everything will be in good shape for us to use the park behind Town Hall next year.
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead, Paul.
I know I'm a minority, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. I find it kind of incongruous that a group that has in its name youth is having a fundraising event in which they have a bar with beer and wine on a public property where we don't allow alcohol. So I'm just looking for some sort of a logical explanation as to why a youth group is using alcohol to raise money for a youth group.
Sure, absolutely. You know, we try to keep this event as close to a fine dining experience as possible. It is not an event that is geared toward our youth constituency. It is the only fundraising event that Railroad Street does each year. And while youth participate in the sense that they are chefs, it's really for our donors and community members, partners. The goal is for Railroad Street to raise money that is crucial to its budget.
Makes sense to me.
I'm still mystified as to why you have to have alcohol at this event.
Well, I'm gonna respond to that, just from my perspective as a person who has not had a drink in 35 years. It is within normalcy and bounds to have cocktails with a dinner. Not that people have to get hammered and open bar and craziness. It is not, it's not incongruous to offer wine and beer at a light level during a fine dining experience. It happens everywhere and anytime, and it's a fundraiser, and I can see why they do it. I would have a tough time if this was a beer blast or a wine tasting or something like that. But I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but my feeling is in this way, and I've seen the way this operates, it's very light-handed, and people don't tend to, it's not a huge cocktail party type thing, as opposed to some of the other stuff I've seen with some of the other fundraisers that, you know, it's light hors d'oeuvres and heavy booze, you know what I mean? That's a cash bar. So they're making money. There's no cash bar at this. So it's part of the experience. But I hear what you're saying,
It's
Paul.
dinner, Paul. It's like people go out to a restaurant and they don't always, people don't drink, but oftentimes there's a wine list and people enjoy wine or a beer with their meal. I mean, so they're trying to simulate. I think what they're trying to do is make it simulate the restaurant experience and culinary arts.
Well, if that were the case, then I would think they could have that event at some place where having alcohol would be appropriate.
Where?
Well, there's a place up on State Road that has a big barn sort of out back where they could have it there. But it would be the same thing as if a booster club at the high school wanted to have a fundraising event for the purposes of, you know, providing support to the athletic team or whatever it is, and decided to have a wine tasting to raise money, or have a big event at some place where alcohol was freely flowing. There's no difference to me.
Well,
So I just have a problem
Dinner.
when we have bans on having alcohol in our public spaces, and yet we look the other way when we have something like this. The same thing happens up back here. It's a public space where we wouldn't ordinarily have alcohol, and we have alcohol. I just don't get it. And I think we should say no. Now, I understand that I'm, you know, yelling in the wilderness and no one's going to hear me. And I also understand that after this year, we're not going to entertain these types of events for Memorial Field.
Correct.
But still, my point is that a youth group is having an event to raise money to support their youth activities, and using alcohol as one of the fundraising events.
I think the problem is that people do these events all the time, but they do them in private institutions like, where they rent a space, and this is something that's they're trying to keep the cost down and make money, and they want to use our public space.
So, and I agree with you. I'm gonna support this, but Mr. Gibbons is not totally wrong, because from the school point of view, we have a policy that any school event, there's no alcohol, whether it's a dinner, whatever it is. I think in many ways, you want to show youth you can have a good time without alcohol.
Correct.
And you can have an event. But in the same respect, the reason I support this is if we're gonna allow it behind town hall, and for whatever reason that's not available, for another year, I'll support Memorial Field, but I do understand that setting a good example sometimes is what we should be doing, but part of this is our own fault for what happened behind us so that they can't do it there, so I will support.
I also have I have attended many of the monument team out of, Springfield and everything else, and all the parents go, and we all start at Bertucci's, and everybody's home, and beer and wine is served there. I mean, people order beer and wine and their kids are there, and then they're driving home. So I understand his point, but it's not a perfect world, so
No,
I get it,
no,
but
but I get there's two sides to this, and
I
I know
absolutely
Paul
think,
thinks he's in the minority and he is, but that's not totally wrong either.
no, I'm not suggesting that he is, because I mean, it's like I had a real problem when the library started having wine tastings. It didn't, so whatever. All right, I'll take a motion on this.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Meyer,
Approved.
Mr. Norton,
approved.
Julie.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think?
Abstain.
No.
Smith, yes. 6-1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter if it rains.
I hope
Stop it. Okay, now, before we get into the update on Olympia Meadows repurpose with Bill and Tom, I know Mr. Tennetti's here, Mr. Gappa is here, Mr. White is here. Gentlemen, do you have the plan that was supposed to be presented? Yeah, come on up here, you guys.
Joe, I've given you permission to talk. Here.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Bill. And we have just reviewed, we wrote up a little something, but we wanted to get a few more eyes on to see if anyone wanted to add anything. But at the current moment, we don't have a piece of paper to distribute. Ron White may have something from last month, but we did reiterate that we were going to hire someone at the beginning in the spring and at the fall for a major cleanup. And then we do weekly cleanups of the field after each games. And then there's a supervisor appointed to make sure that that work gets done. In addition to that, we have a scenario where we have to fix a divot that was brought to our attention, which is a differential between the grass, the outfield, as well going to the infield. That has to be repaired, and we were going to partner with Chip and hopefully Paul Gibbons maybe for some ideas on how to resolve that.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna tell you right now. I am not gonna hear anything more. I want it on paper and I want the board to sign it. And if need be, I may ask the board to put a bond somewhere to hold it because we've had 2 years that nothing's been done correctly. So we need to, I understand, Ron, with all due respect, you've worked very hard and long, probably longer and harder than I have, but I'm not taking any more lip on this. Mr. Gravy, you were part of the signature group on the last thing. And I realized that there was a whole lot of fluff and duff that I'm sure, knowing that where you work and how you work, you probably were not part and participle of such.
Well, I mean, we made the commitment as a coaching staff and to make sure that after every game, I'm sure Ron can attest to it as well, that we're cleaning up this field. It did, obviously in the summertime. We don't typically take care of it in August and late August after the season's over, kind of pick it up in the fall, but that definitely, we didn't get to that.
Okay.
That we wanted to get to that.
Okay,
So, and then we had a little bit of a transition just in our organization,
Mhm.
right? So our president kind of stepped down, vice president stepped down, and so we're a little bit in flux. We're trying to get that together right now.
I respect influx. I respect honesty. I respect that we want, Little League to be successful.
Great.
I also respect myself enough after the last 2 years, I will not go through what I went through. I will not be abused by people. I will not be called out because I have asked that things be done the way they should have been done and were agreed to, and they weren't. So, and I've spoken with Mr. Tonetti at length. I know Ron for a long time. You and I are just met. I'm expecting on February 21st, I will not be here. You're gonna have to deal with him. And I'm not sure who's worse. But we want a plan that says, this is what we're gonna do, this is when we're gonna do it, this is how we're gonna take care of it, not only in the beginning, but throughout the year and at the end. Now, I understand that people stop playing at the end of July or August, whatever, but it cannot, and it can't be left to one guy. Don't tell me Chip Paul's doing all of it, because it can't, that cannot work. Never will. It needs to be a group effort. Part of the problem is, and this is my opinion, you have a lot of helicopter parents. Later, I'll be back to pick them up. That crap has got to stop. They need to be, either that, if they don't want to do the work, that's all well and good. Write the check. Give me a check for $250 so we can get the people in here to get the stuff done that needs to get done. Because part of the problem is, and this is kind of a really weird thing, is that when we look at the amount of kids that are Barrington kids, or the West Stockbridge kids, or Sheffield, or Richmond, it's about half are Barrington kids. And there are people in town who go, why should I support kids from Richmond or West Stockbridge and whatever? I think it's a fair question. I don't know if it's a good one, but it's a fair question. So I'd be curious how you feel, Ron, because you've been doing this a long time. What are your thoughts?
Well, as far as the other towns go, I mean, we do charge to get into our organization.
How much is it? If I want to have my son come and play
I don't
baseball?
even remember. Do you
I
remember?
think it was $95.
Okay,
Okay,
last season.
which all the players pay from all the towns. So that money goes into our kitty. So it's not like the other towns are getting in for free.
okay.
But you also wouldn't have a league, or if you didn't have all the towns play, so our kids
True.
would get to
Yeah,
play.
you wouldn't have that
Right.
experience. The great Barrington kids wouldn't have the experience that they have.
Absolutely accurate.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Jason. I'm trying to, the best way to answer an objection is to bring it in the presentation and then you can answer it. Go ahead.
So, you know, all the towns do contribute through the registration fees. Sure, we don't get any money, a check written from, you know, West Stockbridge or something.
Right.
But, you know, then again, Great Barrington doesn't write us a check either. You do take care of the fields, which is great, and we appreciate that. But, you know, we're gonna go above and beyond that.
We have written a check for $20,000
Well,
2 years ago.
Right. That, yeah, that was more of a capital expense if you know, you wanna get.
It's still money out of the
True,
pocket.
true, true. I'm not denying that. We appreciate it and all that stuff. But I'm talking about the day-to-day type of
Mhm.
stuff, okay? So we, as Jason said, we want to hire, you know, the volunteerism is, yeah. How do you spell that? Anyway.
PWHEP.
I thought there was some F's in there. but-
I'm gonna leave that
Okay.
out of that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I played Little League, you know, I grew up around here from West Stockbridge, but, so I'm just curious, how many teams are involved in the league? I mean, from the different towns, I mean, it works the way,
Well, they're not town teams.
they're not town teams anymore.
No.
So people bring their players all in and then you divvy them up and create several different teams out of the pool. That's
Right,
how it
we
works?
have 4 different divisions. We have what we call the major league division, which is 9 through 12-year-olds. And those are totally divvied up because we're more concerned with trying to balance the teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then minor league, kind of the same thing. We have coaches pitch and T-ball, which we do try to do town type things just for transportation purposes.
So basically, in other words, it's the way, because the reason Monument Mountain is now long, you know, it was originally 3 towns, but now with school choice, you get people from everywhere, and now we're also talking about possibility of Sheffield getting added into the bunch.
Oh, you don't even want to get into that
Well,
mess.
but-
We
but
could
what
have
I'm
8
saying is-
towns soon.
Yeah, but
Look at
I just
on three.
see that your, you know, your organization is then not necessarily connected. Are there other organizations within the county that are existing at the same time, that have a different pool of players? You know, does Sheffield have their bunch? Does Stockbridge have a bunch anymore?
Sheffield, we're talking baseball now, right?
Yeah, Little League.
Okay. Sheffield is in our league.
Right.
Okay,
We merged with them
okay,
years ago, 100 years ago.
right. Well,
You
I'm
know,
just,
when Paul's kids were there, it was just Great Barrington was a time. As things shrank a little bit, we merged with Stockbridge, West Stockbridge and
so it's
Richmond,
basically the members of the monument community.
essentially.
And Southern Berkshire.
Yeah,
And Southern, you know, we got the Sheffield group as well.
Monument and. South-
Ron, I appreciate all that. Do you think, between you and Jason, because I've never met him, but I've heard good things about him, so I'm gonna
Good
go, I'm gonna go on a reputational issue, although I have nothing I can attest to in front of a court of law.
we've met a couple times.
Well, my point is I want to make sure that Little League gets it in the sense of what has to be done. And the people who are going to make sure it's done correctly are here and here. They're just going to do drive-bys to make sure it's done.
And that's fine. And if you have suggestions, recommendations, happy to hear them,
Okay,
okay?
come
I'm not-
back.
I'm not a gardener,
No,
okay?
no, no. You can, go ahead, Jason.
One thing I would say, just so we're clear, when we're writing up our plan, what exactly is the town's commitment to that field? Is it just mowing the grass?
No,
there's the
our
agreement,
commitment is this. Capital expenses, which would include repair and maintenance of the fence, because it's a liability to the town if it's not done properly. The mowing of the fields on our own schedule, because
And
there's
the
a,
mowers that we provided, there's a
Hmm?
we have
Okay.
provided new mowers.
there's a mower down
Yeah.
there that can be used to supplement what the town
Wait a
does.
minute, I just saw a look of askance over here.
Yeah,
But
I knew that there's a new, I played for the Millers as well. I know there's a new.
There's a new mower
There's a
there
mower
and
there.
there's a new mower down there. We bought two.
I don't,
It's in the,
yeah.
it's in the garage,
softball.
it's in the
To me
shed,
too.
as you come down the hill by the softball field.
There's an agreement.
Been there
that you
for
guys
2
have
years.
Seen, hopefully that the town came up with, that said what our responsibilities are,
Right.
and what
Yeah,
yours
right.
are.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's already
I
in
think
there.
that- What I'll do is, let me do this, Jason. I don't think you've seen it. I'll send you a copy of that
Okay.
to see what it was from last year. I will tell you that 2 mowers were bought.
Okay.
One went to over here and the other mower went down. It's in the softball shed,
Okay.
okay? Now,
Down there.
right next to the whatever.
Yes, yeah.
Now, we agreed that we would buy those machines and you guys could use them, but there were some parameters, like no kids can use the mowers. It's gotta be done by an adult.
Yeah.
And we're not buying new batteries because people tend to not shut the key off.
Okay.
But other than that, we'll make sure there's gas in them and stuff like that. What I would strongly suggest is as March, April comes, that you get in touch with Mr. Averdale and have Steve or John want to go down there and show you how to use them and make sure they're tuned up, both of them, and then let her rip. And then we're gonna mow it once a week.
Okay.
That's all you get.
That's great.
That's all we can do.
Okay.
Do not come to me and say, well, we're having a tournament, we need it mowed every day, which is what somebody did last year. And I was like, that's not happening. Okay? Yeah, whatever. It was a while ago, but what we want to do is we're happy to provide those mowers and we will do capital fence. And I would strongly suggest, and I'm not sure I'm going to ask Mr. Gibbon, we will buy some clay, will we not?
We haven't made that decision yet.
But we have in the past.
We have in the past.
I would suggest you have a good shot at that.
Okay.
Okay,
All right?
okay.
Really expensive proposition for that, because one truckload from New Jersey is gonna cost between $3,500 and $4,000. And when it comes, you see this great big dump truck, a trailer dump, and you think, oh, wow, look at that. And they dump it out and it's a pile about this high. So it doesn't go very far. And that's why it's maybe a one-time expense for this year, but we haven't talked about that part of it yet.
But you
But
think
it's
one,
fair.
one truck will be enough to fix?
Well, I don't know, since the divots were
know.
dug, you guys are gonna have to look at that and whatever, I'm
I
not.
think that's something between Mr. Gibbons and Mr. Aberdale, they may be able to give you some guidance on that, because it may not be.
Paul knows more about clay than any of us sitting here. All I'm gonna say to you is I can understand if you come to us and say we need a truckload, okay? I don't know if there's some down there next to the,
There is a little bit. not-
there,
A
yeah,
little
okay,
bit well.
We
okay.
usually split it
Okay.
between them.
So I don't know, and if Memorial Field needs it, we're not gonna put anything on Memorial Field at this point because that's gonna be redone in the next 12 months. So I'm not gonna spend any money on that at this point. And if you guys demonstrate by getting things cleaned up and weeded and, we may have to buy a two-load. I don't know, but that's something that between Paul and Joe, and then you can bring it back to the committee is exactly what you need, okay? Mr.
Karen?
Chair?
Yep, just gonna say that I don't think that soil was removed from the infield. I think he just wedged it. In other words, it had obviously some drained and the grass stays higher, but then when he edged it, it created a little bit of a hole. But it's not like we lost any mass from last year. So hopefully that can be pushed over and raked. And I think that it was maybe Paul and possibly Chipper that said they may have some ideas about how to best remedy that. So we have to look at that closely and assess how much clay we actually need. I think that's a good idea.
But we'll have to wait until springtime comes and see what condition the fields are. I mean, obviously, we have not had a very wet.
Thanks, Bill.
a Very snowy, winter so far. And so the fields may, survive without minor maintenance other than repairing the damage to.
And getting out
to
the
the
weed
fields.
crowns.
But Karen's gonna send you a list, because we drew up, and I forget how many things I had on it, but we drew up a list,
I got it.
which everybody signed, but just kind of ignored.
Jason, your
And
email,
so
please.
once that, you get that,
Letter
you
J,
can look at it.
GAPA, GAPPA.
I have a question.
Ah,
When are you having your registration?
Usually
Have you set it up? yet?
Usually March,
February into March,
yeah.
or we can do it online.
And at that time, are people expected to make a payment online or how, I mean?
Not
is it on-
mandatory, but highly
recommend.
recommended.
Okay,
Yeah,
We won't turn any kid away for not being able.
so
to
I
pay.
mean, if you're doing it online, you don't necessarily meet the parents
You don't.
anymore.
Yeah, it's not come to the
It's not
table
like
and sign up.
the old days. This is the day of registration. We're here, you
Yeah.
come, sign, and be done with
Yeah.
it.
See, what you're getting at is arm twisting. You come to sign up and you start twisting arms.
That, but I think that in your registration form, you should have a section which tells people that in addition to this fee, you are expected to donate X hours for the season, and then get it organized. I mean, you don't need 25 parents down there every week, 3 parents a week. And if the coaches do their job at the end of each game and do what they're supposed to do, the maintenance of that field will be minimal. But it's when it's not done.
Okay. I think you guys have your marching orders, and I think Mr. Gibbons is, I like, part of the problem is if you do everything online, there's no interpersonal contact.
But
And poor Mr. Tonetti, who's had to go face to face with me, he's always happier on Zoom. And I understand why, but I think it's time that this cannot go on the way it's gone on. Things need to change,
Sharon, can I just add something?
please,
I don't really care how Little League solves the problem.
just solve it.
Just solve it. And it's not, Ron knows, I go back to the days when they say Saturday morning, they're gonna have a work bee and guys show up with Kubotas. Those days are gone. And I show up and lean on a rake because I didn't have to do anything, because they, and Ron and I would talk. I mean, because. we
That's what
weren't
you
arguing.
do.
That's what I do well. So you know, however you decide to solve it, I'm sure you will, and I understand time to dance, we just have to accept that. Here's, you know, you call the work fee for the first weekend in April, it'd probably just be the coaches show up and maybe a couple parents. I get that, that's just the way it is now.
Yeah, and we'll figure it out. I mean, those are good suggestions, and we can definitely reach out and ask for volunteers, but ultimately they're volunteers, like whether or
Yeah.
not they're gonna show up. But if we can't get those volunteers, then we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna
You'll figure it
hire
out.
someone to do it. I've spent a decent amount of time at the field the last couple of years. We've definitely used the mower at Memorial a lot. I don't know about you, I've never used that mower down at Little League, and the fact that it's there, I'm
Did you
very,
not know it was there?
well, I don't know, like the timing of that too, because I don't think when did it come in? Because I thought we got.
Early
that-
last spring.
Was it last spring?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I had heard it was there, but I had never used it myself. But someone recently told me that it had been there and it got no use from us. But,
Well, it will definitely get used. this
So,
spring.
so I'm very
That will
encouraged
help a
that
lot.
the three of you are here, can communicate with us. Because the problem before was the lack of communication between Little League and the town, and not the town's hall. So I'm really excited that the three of you
Yeah,
are here. Two of you I know, you seem like a good guy. We'll solve this problem.
great.
You're all here for the kids anyways. We're all here for the
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
So we'll
Perfect.
figure it out.
and Karen, we'll take care of the crown weeds and make sure that we do a good job of the weeding as well, just to your point. And we'll make sure we get a list. We'll make sure we review that list and filter it back into the new document we sign. Does that sound like a good plan?
And I will tell you something. I will be doing an on-site inspection once those weeds are supposedly removed, because I spent 60 hours weeding that field by myself 2.5 years ago. So I'm intimately involved with the structure of the weed. So you know that, as they would say in Kenya, Mama Care Bear is coming to check it out. So be careful. All right, great. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay.
Two things, I made a note that we'll pull both mowers and service them,
Mhm.
okay, before spring. Great. The other thing is, when you do the online registration, is there a waiver that's signed?
Yes.
Is there a chance you could send that a copy to me?
We're going to insist on it.
Good, yeah.
We're going to
Maybe-
insist on
maybe
it
what
from
we
now
could
on.
do is tweak it and just say the Great Barrington Little League and the town of Great Barrington. Okay. Right, but if you would send that to me.
Yeah, sure.
jaberdale@townofgb.org. Yeah, because what we're gonna have to do with all of the town stuff is we're gonna have to get waivers for everything. Okay?
We're in the world.
You're talking liability waiver.
Yes.
Yes.
One last question, if the kids that live in, say, Sheffield or Stockton or wherever, who don't live in Great Barrington, they are not necessarily on a team that is in Sheffield.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, at the major league, little league level, correct.
So it's a pool of kids and you have some kind of a draft,
We do.
and it doesn't matter where you live as to what team you're
Right,
assigned.
okay, good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've got parents who are from outside of the community here. And that's why it probably might not be a bad idea to have a face-to-face registration day. Like, well, I don't know if they still do it, but I know at one time, the youth soccer people, who probably are the golden ones, running and getting stuff done up at the high school. They would set up a table on a Saturday morning or Sunday or whatever it is, and people would come in and they would sign up face to face. Now, I don't know if they're still doing that, because I'm not involved in it as much as I used to be. But that might be something to consider, because that way you are going to be able to see the parent and impress upon them. Look, a couple of hours for the whole summer?
I used to love the
What
face
kind
to
of a
face.
bargain is that?
I used
Okay.
to love the face to face.
They've got their marching orders, okay?
Can I just ask a
Quickly.
little for clarity on how it works? So you get the pool of players and then you divide and how many teams do you usually come up with? And basically you have like 4 or 5 teams and then you play amongst each other.
We do.
So is there any other field besides that one that's involved? Do you for this group? Sheffield?
Yeah, they're playing
And that's
Sheffield.
the 2 of them, basically?
Sheffield.
Well, as far as the major league level.
Right,
goes,
let's just say,
we will occasionally go over to the minor league field, what we call the.
no,
minor
but I
league
mean,
field.
so your league, your in-house, it's an in-house league of like however many. And then, cause in the fall or later on, there's always the tournaments with Pittsfield or whoever else.
Do that
So
anymore,
then
do
you-
guys,
They,
do you play a count?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, we're way afield. We're way afield from where we need to be.
The logistics.
Then you
that's all.
chat with them afterwards. Let's just stay on
Thank you.
topic, shall we? Thank you. Okay. Mr.
Yes.
Tonetti, anything else?
Yeah, no, just to reiterate, if there's people that they really like that do the weeding the way that you like to do it, we're open-minded toward listening and interviewing more people. But
Don't ask
we're-
me. You
Yep.
figure it out.
we have a plan. Don't worry.
That's good. February
See you
21st
here on the 21st of February,
21st of February.
with something.
up close and personal,
Yeah.
and send it
I
to
mean,
me.
there's already something in writing, so you don't have a lot to do.
I'll send you what we've got and you guys can tweak it and do whatever. Okay,
Thanks.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are moving on to old business. Berkshire South, Mr. DeSignore. Can you move him up?
I am, yeah.
Hello, everyone. My old business is the coming up with some kind of a budget for goose control at Lake Mansfield. So I've done a good amount of research on it, and there truly isn't any magic bullet. There's all kinds of different witchcraft that can be employed. But the bottom line is what I'm finding is, and I'm not the expert, what I found is there's a couple of feasible methods that might work. I've sent you, Karen, just an email just tonight with just a simple spreadsheet with only 2 line items on it, with 2 possibilities that may work for us. Looking at other options like putting a light down there, putting anything, I think, physical is an invitation for vandals to remove them from the town. So there's actually one sort of off the beaten trail that was listed on it's a habitat kind of thing, which is dogs. And there is a contact there for getting a free quote for the town. And other than that, there is also an organic, non-toxic application that can be put down. That is about, I think it's about $140 per 22 pounds. I would suspect it would probably take 2 of those. It would require 2 applications during the course of the year, which basically builds a perimeter from the shoreline all the way around.
Hold on. What's in goose scram?
And goose scram, hold on.
You say product name goose scram. I can tell you.
Yeah,
that
goose
that would
scram is
have-
the,
That would have to pass muster with the Board of Health. I can
Yes.
tell you that. And
Yeah.
also toxicity to kids, pets, you
Yeah.
know.
I agree. These are all I can suggest. I just, like I say, I'm not an expert, and I really do suggest that the town, to properly resolve it, get an expert in that says this is what can be done.
Well, there are 3 things you can do. This, the trained dogs, which are expensive. And the other thing is the coyote and bear plastic,
Yeah.
that can be anchored.
visual
Yeah, what
deterrent.
do you know, Mr. Aberdale?
Up at Card Lake in West Stockbridge this past summer, they had the yellow flashing light that they put out in the water on a buoy. And what it did is, I guess it doesn't let the geese rest at night and keeps them moving. Doesn't let them
That's
stay.
correct. That's correct.
Like that.
It becomes a matter of, how,
I see
Billing.
geese during the season, but the light was gone. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it's something Stockbridge tried or not.
Well, is there anybody who could, Mark, could you get in touch with West Stockbridge about the blinking yellow light? Because Mr. Aberdale has plenty to do, and I would suggest that perhaps the blinking yellow light in the water might be an interesting way to handle this on a buoy.
yes, so does anyone know who I would contact there?
Well, the town administrator, I would get in touch, I would go on,
Kurt Willens, the DPW.
Kurt Willens is the DPW.
Superintendent.
He's the superintendent, so he would know. So why don't you start with that and get back to, I know the goose scram, I can just hear, oh my God, I don't even want to know. And the trained dogs are great, but you gotta have them and they gotta be here, and it's just, we don't want dogs on the beach, and let's see what we can do with the light. And I know the coyote, whatever, something like that, I think they can be anchored in a bag of cement, so let's look at those two things, okay?
What I
Anything else?
researched, yeah, what I researched on the putting some kind of a coyote type of thing is the geese rapidly get adjusted and accustomed to them, and they lose their efficacy fairly rapidly.
Damn
So,
geese.
yeah, I know what to
Okay.
say. I'm
So
not
I like the
expert.
light thing. Let's try the light. Okay. Great. Anything else Berkshire South needs to know? Is your contract up to date?
As far as I know it is, we haven't received a request. We haven't seen a request for quote.
Mr. Aberdale, where are we with the RFP for them? All right, Joe will check and he'll let you know. So the guy you get in touch with is Mark Del Signore at Berkshire South. Anything else, Mark, that we need to know? Staffing
it.
coming up?
No, staffing is still an issue. Although I'm seeing signs of hope with some of the responses to advertisements for help, or at least more people are responding, unfortunately unqualified.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, or issues for Berkshire South at this juncture? Great, Mark. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Mr. Aberdale, let me go backwards. Memorial Field, am I correct in assuming that the RFP is going to go out sometime in?
Late spring, early summer, because we're gonna do September, October, November.
That's right. Okay, great. Thank you.
And the question about sod on the infield, that was the plan.
Originally.
Yep.
Okay, so that would take care of that problem.
Yep.
Good. What I'm gonna do in my absence is, so Debbie needs to get in touch with Chris about stuff for for Grove and Dewey park equipment. And then what has to happen in my absence, there's gonna need to be a public information meeting with a budget of how much this group's gonna have to decide how much of the budget you're gonna want to assign to that, whether it's this year or the following year, in the sense of, for both. I have a feeling that Dewey is not gonna want much. They want open space at this point. And Grove may have some input into what they want, but that's gonna all have to be coordinated in my absence with Mr. Gibbons and with you. But Sir Debbie, who I will talk to tomorrow morning, I will have her get in touch with Chris, and then I will have her get in touch with Steve and Paul about where we need to go. I'm thinking you need to have some sort of public information meeting sometime in the end of February. And you bring in the neighborhoods and they say, okay, what do you want? And you talk about it. And you guys figure that out, okay? The charging for the use of town spaces, we have now got a liability thing that we can use, correct? For everybody?
We did, we altered the pickleball.
Okay,
I sent it to Mark. I don't know if I heard back from him.
all right, if we could, whatever, I skipped something by mistake, I want to go back to it. The men's group that pays basketball at 6:45 in the morning,
Yes,
okay? I would like to make a recommendation that become a town program. It could open it up to other people over 40. It would also not require them to have insurance because it would be part of, under the town's guise, and I mean GUISE.
I have no problem with that. My question, I think we've done it for one group, so I think we need to do it, be fair and do it for most groups.
Yeah,
And that's, I don't see how we can say we're gonna do it for this group, but not.
no, it just came to me and I thought, let's do that. And, you know, Tom Jordan's the guy and he's been very responsible. He's moved the bleachers in and out for pickleball. It's been great. So I don't have a problem with it. So I'm bringing it up to this group to see if you guys would be willing to allow that to happen. Then they don't have to maintain, insurance and stuff.
How is it structured currently?
It's just
Men's basketball.
loosey goosey. It's like 6:45 to 8 o'clock in the morning. They play hoops,
Just a group of guys.
just a group of guys over 40-year-olds. This is old men's.
And they're okay. Do you think they would be okay to just open it up as a town?
I asked them that.
Oh,
I would not make this suggestion without bringing it up to them first.
There's a hand up with you, Eric Gabriel.
I'm not dealing with him right now. Go ahead.
Well, my question here is, okay, his first question was why? To avoid
Why not?
the insurance,
Yes.
Yes,
is that the reason?
this was my idea, not
Okay.
this.
No, I understand that. So. is
And
it-
also to open it up, so if there are other people that age that want to play, that it gives us another outlet for a different age group.
All right, so the age might be, if we're gonna say you can't be 39, you have to be 40 in order to play, that might cause a problem. And the other one is that you can't just say it's male only.
They're fine with that.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
I will
we
use
aren't
the
gonna-
age restriction
He's
because they
right
don't want
ourselves
hot
into-
dogs coming in and doing it. And if they'll play with anybody. I mean, they play with Bill Fields. Come on, let's be honest.
so right now they're paying an insurance cost to.
Yeah.
use-
This was my idea. I
Right.
thought, let's offer more programs for different age people. They do it responsibly, so that's, and it was my idea. Tom Jordan was like, oh, I never thought about that. I was like, well, that's good.
And the same thing, with, just as in pickleball, they would have a sign up sheet on the town website. Is that how it would?
No,
work,
we
or
just, they would announce that there's
Just a pickup game. at
pickup
6:45?
game, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would have to be, I think they would have to be willing to open it to,
They are,
yeah, as long as they're willing to do.
right,
that.
and they would all sign waivers.
Yeah.
That's the,
You can go onto your website, on your
yes,
sign waivers.
Parks and Rec. If you want to play basketball, you have to sign the waiver first. I can get in touch with Tom Jordan. He gives the waivers to the guys that get them. If they don't have them, they don't play. Same thing with pickleball. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll take a motion.
Approve.
I'll take a
Second.
motion. You say so moved,
So move.
and you say approve. All right. Mr. Myers left, so it's just Mr. Norton,
Approve.
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Paul, Karen, yes. It's unanimous. So I need to get that from you. I need Mark to sign off on it, so we can start to get it out.
that's what you and I never committed. I was gonna say, we didn't have a quorum.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't. Lake Mansfield Task Force. That's Meyer, he's not here. Lake Mansfield Beach Area, we're still waiting for parts, right?
Parts came in. For both pieces of equipment, there's one piece of equipment they came in wrong again, so we're still waiting.
Do we pay these people?
I didn't.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Rared Street Update Youth Project. How you doing, Tiffany? Do you even have a clue?
Yeah, Regina texted me. She said there's not really a lot of updates. Oh, sorry. I'm cooking dinner. Alexa.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Regina said they're still looking for a group mentoring and skate park coordinator. And Molly Lovejoy, who was recently promoted to senior mentoring coordinator, will join Parks and Rec in February or March. That's it for Railroad Street updates.
Well, I can see that having a staff ready in January would probably be somewhat problematic, so that's all right. All right, before we go on, Mr. Gabriel, your hand is up.
Yeah, well, okay.
Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello, Karen. Thank you for dealing with me. I appreciate it. I want to say, great idea with the Hoosie hoop situation. I was asked a few times this past week, and I was hoping to bring it up tonight about doing a sign-up sheet so people could do pickup games at the Hoosie Dome. So
No, that's not what we're saying. No. We're
I
not
understand
having-
what you're saying. I understand completely what you're saying. I'm thankful that you're making steps for other people to participate. So,
Right.
but I was just mentioning that several people were asking if there is a sign-up sheet for pickleball, could there eventually be a sign-up sheet for basketball? So whether it's a group of 40-plus-year-olds that are going in there, a group of 30-year-olds, or maybe some kids that are home from college, that they can go to the town website and book a time to play. So
Well-
just a suggestion, thought I would throw it out there.
I will tell you, I had a gentleman call me today saying, well, I want to go in and play pickleball at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, well, guess what? You don't have a shot because we got lots of other things going on. Part of the problem is this. The Whoosy basketball takes up both weekend days and every night of the week. And I am not willing at this juncture to move that. We also have 3 other afternoons a week that it's already being used. So we're not, also the other problem is, Eric, with all due respect, Park and Rec doesn't have a budget to monitor that building.
Yeah, no, I assumed, and I didn't mean it to interfere with the Whoosy hoops program, because I know they're already getting crunched for time, but I think we just mean like seasonally, like not even in the winter, but maybe even sometimes. I remember as a kid that we used to be able to go there in the summer and play basketball.
Absolutely. I have no problem with that, but once again, it's the monitoring of the facility. And
Oh,
the
I
people
understand. I'm just,
walking with mud all over their boots and everything else, like this
Right.
weekend is coming up. How are we doing, Joe? Are we gonna be ready for the farmer's market?
We will, the insulation is not done, everything will push aside so the farmer's market can proceed.
Okay,
But we're up against it.
and we don't know whether we can play pickleball the following weekend. You don't know yet.
Plan is yes.
I understand the plan is yes. I have a lot of plans too, but I'm also going with reality.
They got the hard parts done. They're working on the open areas now. So
Okay.
progress is good.
We're making strides with the insulation at the Whoosy Dome. Everything's been shut down until recently. Yes, Mr. I'm not-
Progress.
Okay, is there anything else you've got, Eric?
no, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Mr.
Everybody.
Tonetti, what would you like? Unmute yourself.
Just double checking to see if there's a timeline and whether it's changed at all, or there was never any timeline for the Whoosy Dome to be completed.
Yes, it is. I beg to
don't-
differ with you. We have been.
No, I'm saying I don't know when it is. I don't know. And I'm curious
Well,
when it is.
We're hoping that things are done by the end of 2 weeks from this yesterday, finally, but we're not gonna be having people in except the farmer's market on Saturday. Everything else is up in the air. We don't know whether we will be having pickleball and basketball starting Monday, the 24th. Have I got the right date?
So we don't know on that Monday, the 24th yet. We're kind of going to wait and see on that, right?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
23rd, my error, but that,
The plan is looking like it can be. We just can't afford any slip ups. You know.
In other words,
so-
there's no room for error, so we're cutting it a little close to get that 23rd deadline. So
that
no
would be
promises, but
absolutely
that's good.
accurate. No promises.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Not yet. Any other citizens want to speak? Evidently not. Now, commissioner speak. Mr. Norton.
I would just like to support the idea that Eric just presented about having, you know, a possibility that we could have a basketball night. I mean, I understand it's logistics. I'm too old to play, but we did for many years. We would have a night of the week where a lot of adults would get there and play basketball, and it was a really a good part. It was maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
You're
And
preaching to the choir.
right.
My
so-
problem is we do not have a budget for staffing.
Right, well, let's just look at, maybe we can think outside the box or whatever, but I just would support. If something could get worked out and there was a time available and there was interested people, that we would be happy to support it coming to fruition.
Absolutely. But here's the deal. We have spent a lot of time and effort with the pickleball, trying to get them, and now we've got the Ruby and all that. We've got to deal with that. I will wait till I get home on that. But I would love to open that up a lot more.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I can tell you from from watching, is there are a lot of parents that go in there and watch basketball and they don't follow any of the rules, and they gum up the thing when they got mud all over their
Yeah.
shoes, and they don't do what they're supposed to do. My problem is you start to open that place up with no monitoring, it's gonna ruin that floor. I know, because when I went to play pickleball, everybody changed all their shoes in that front room.
Mhm.
Nobody came near that floor. And I walk in and there is mud all over that floor.
So when we used to play basketball there, I don't know, you might have
Darlene
played
Rapp.
there. But we,
Castro
Take
would
care
kill
of
you.
no, and yeah, also, what was it, the last, your, father-in-law.
Sonny Tarnum,
Sonny, yeah, Sonny would be,
what channel are you on?
I'm on outer space right now. but-
Okay, now at
I'm
least
just
we're
saying
all
that
on
we
the same.
did it and we monitored it and we knew.
Yeah,
were
we did a
smart
lot
enough-
of things 20 years
smart
ago.
enough to Take our shoes off outside and wear basketball sneakers on
It's
the
not
court.
much the kids as the visitors that come in and sit on.
Right.
Pictures.
But I'm saying if
Yeah,
we
exactly.
set it up for a night for adult basketball, that I think that we'd be mature enough and smart enough to be able to, with that group to make it work.
Your operative conditioning about I think is where the problem starts. The problem is people don't think. They
So-
do what they want to
The
do.
Who's who isn't there all year.
Right, when they're done, then we can do this.
Well, I don't think Tom's saying we have to do it right now, but I think it's not a bad idea to try it in
Absolutely,
the late spring and.
right, Wednesday nights.
Well, you
and-
gotta find when people can even do it,
I think you'll find too that the Uzi Dome, as we knew it before the installation, was rather uncomfortable in the summer.
Mhm.
But with the insulation, we should see it a little bit cooler in there in the summer, which would make.
I would love to open it up for pickleball 3 afternoons a week. I got people who are clamoring to play that can't do it from 9 to 12. So we'll work
Yeah.
on it. Julie,
Nothing really.
thank you. Banyan,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Gibbons,
I said my piece today.
you did? You're done? No more whining
I wasn't whining. Are
Um,
you spelling whining with an H or with an L?
with an A? First of all, I want to thank Mr. Aberdale. Do you have anything you'd like to add? First of all, thank you for coming back. I know you,
Sorry, I had the wrong date. I'll forward, I have some pictures from Sunday of the Uzi Dome and I'll go back there tonight, but I'll forward them to the commission so you see what's going on.
yeah, for the insulation, great.
We had one little hiccup. When they started spraying the paint and they pulled the tape off, you could see the nice wood beam, you could see the gray paint, and then there was this portion of the insulation that wasn't covered, so it looked like very white lines, so we're addressing that issue, that's what I said, we had some little hiccups. So we're in the process of
That's what, with that, I was trying to figure out what that meant.
the front entryway or the front part, the weatherization with the blown insulation is done, the stage area is done, because I did that before. The hard parts of the chip floor are done, so what I see for progress tonight when I stop will tell a lot. The other thing that I've been looking on my phone and I couldn't find it, I wanted to share with you. Whoosy Hoops sent out a nice email to the sponsors, looking for their
Logos?
logos. Did you see that email?
No.
Okay, but it was a nice write-up that they had like 194 kids. And that they joined with the Whoosy or the Golden Knights this year. So I'll forward that onto the commission when I find it. just so
Okay,
you-
but one thing I'm gonna say right now, as a carte blanche, I do not want to see any more Uzi basketball hoops, logos, decals, paint on everything. It's not their building.
Well, they have the banner hung up.
I'm done with the rest of this decals all over the building. They cannot, that's not their building. It's the town's building. I understand it's the program and everything else. Now, something that somebody asked me from Whoosy Hoops, and I said I would be more than willing to bring it up, and I forgot, and now I do, is could we purchase a chair rack for all the chairs that Whoosy Hoops use, so they could put them on that and move them out of the way?
What's interesting, those chairs are their chairs.
That's fine,
Why are we buying the chair rack?
because it makes it so other people can use the space.
I think there's a little history behind the chairs too. There was a set of metal bleachers there that they bought. Because the wooden bleachers were dilapidated on that side.
Correct?
And they ended up buying these for the teams, I guess, and they also bought that scorer's table.
Yeah.
Right.
But so along with the chair rack thing, years and years and years ago, the Housatonic Community Center had chairs and tables that the public could borrow. I don't know if you remember, up at the stage, you could lift the vent things out and take the sliding tables out. There's still quite a few of those metal chairs still in the Uzi Dome that are just stacked up in the meeting room. So we are actually at the Parks Group, Stephen was thinking of making a rack for them.
Great.
So I guess if we're making one, we could look at doing that as long as they're not too crazy.
I think that would be good to make a rack, but is everybody understanding what I'm saying? First of all, you've not been to the Hoosie Dome. There are stickers, Hoosie back all over the building, and I just,
Yeah, I'll look at that.
I just, it's just a little much. It's like, cause it's not. You know, I understand they've got the table and they've got the chairs and it's all wonderful, but that building really. They don't own a proprietary interest in that building. The town is using it, and we're trying to open it up to more people, so I don't want more logo stickers and all over the place. I just think I think it's poor form. Now, sponsors, what are the sponsors? Are they asking them to?
No, I think they were gonna prepare, some advertisement for their tournament or something. They're gonna list all the sponsors. The
That's
only reason I
fine.
know, because I still sponsor teams there.
That's fine. I have no problem with them doing that.
But, and that's all it was. It would, but I guess what I wanted to share with you is the write-up that they sent out. How many people and kids and families it's servicing is pretty impressive.
That's almost 200 kids.
That's impressive.
Wow.
It is impressive. It's a good program. I support it greatly, but I also support a facility that can be used for numerous other types of persons, age groups and activities.
It's a little culture change here that we haven't had.
I
for
understand.
30 years.
We're-
For years and years, the Golden Knights had the public school buildings and the Hoosie Dome was the
Hoosie
boys-
basketball, right.
Boys, and so we're not taking anything away from them, but it's still a little culture shock.
Yeah.
The days when we had the key to the building and you just walked in anytime you wanted and used it.
Did there used to be roller skating in there?
No.
Not that I remember.
No,
It's.
you used to have a roller skating rink here.
My mother-
There was a roller skating rink over here.
There was a
So
roller.
kids would get-
Yes,
Where they
Why would they try?
where the triplex is.
burned down.
Can
back
we,
in the day.
really?
The other thing, the storage,
Oh.
room, the storage room,
Oh, I
it's
don't-
painted new floor. It's painted new floor. We're working on building the shell.
You understand that we've taken one of the rooms and every group will now have a storage bin.
Good.
Basketball will have one, pickleball will have one, boxing will have one. There'll be wire cages. They can shut them and lock them. Question, are they gonna need two keys, one to get in the door and one to get into their locker?
They don't need a key to get in the door because it's a code. So,
No, I'm talking about the front door. I'm talking about
no, I don't think we need to lock that door
that's why I don't either. That's
because every locker's gonna have a lock on it.
perfect. That's what I wanted to
It
know.
may be keyed, but it doesn't need to be locked. So.
Thank you.
And the one last thing was, we had a lot of discussion at our last meeting about, insurance, the insurance and the insurance, company, how they view things. I'm waiting for something from the underwriters. They're gonna write it up for us today.
Right. We're gonna need to make a decision. The only thing at this point that I think we're gonna need to make a decision on is the private yoga group.
Cause it's a for profit.
It's because it's for profit.
Yeah.
Everything else falls,
When I asked him that question, because I shared with him some of the examples. And he didn't really care if it was for profit or not for profit, but if it was something that someone was paying to make money. Or he was saying no.
right, so that's the other stuff, boxing, no. In essence, basketball, they charge to play, but
And we talked about that in Little League, and it's like, it's not. That's why he's going to the underwriter to get something.
right, we need,
Let's get it in writing so we understand it.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to throw people out because for that type of reason, but I certainly think, or some guy called me, he said, I want to have a private party at the Hoosie Dome. I'm from West Stockbridge, and I just said, no. I didn't even ask for any more details. Because, no.
We don't have the staff for that.
Private party in their town hall, can't they?
All right,
So, Jim.
next meeting. February 21st at 5:15. That would be 1 AM for me. I think I'll let you deal with that, Mr.
You
Good.
could do it by Zoom, couldn't you?
Oh, I actually could, if I was up at 1:15.